Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing the shifter install in the VB. Also take a little bit of a look at some of the Howtech stuff, the coils, starting to mount the wiring loom, and also just sort of where we're at with the engine bay side of things and the fabrication that we're getting sorted and starting to get happening. So let's have a quick look at the car itself before we do the shifter. So basically, engine bay side of things, I did get Travis to come down the other day and just sort of started having a look and seeing what we were going to do for fabrication. So obviously, first of all, one of the most important things is radiator. So I do have a Phoenix radiator on the way at the moment. That'll just be getting put in along with a thermo fan. I've actually gone for some twin thermos. Trav is running them in his VL, from a Mondeo, I believe it is. Pretty slimline twin thermos, so them and the Phoenix radiator will go in. From there, we're having a bit of a chat with about what the main goals with the car and sort of future issues we may run into, and decided to scallop the firewall for the dump pipe. Originally, I was going to go out behind the guard. Behind the strut tower through the guard there, but it is not able to be engineered if that's the way I do it. So I don't think I'm going to get this engineered straight away by any means, but definitely would like it to be an option in the future. So there's going to be quite a bit of work involved, but yeah, I think sort of scalloping the firewall there is going to be the go, and then fitting the dump pipe down that way. So from there, you guys might notice I have cut my hole in the guard there for the turbo outlet. Also cut the flange off of the turbo there as well. We're going to weld a cast elbow onto the outlet there. So I'm not sure if you guys remember how that used to sit. What I've done at the moment is just sort of clock that turbo up a little bit at the flange. So I do actually have some clearance in now. I may give it a little bit more again, but basically we've got a heap of bonnet clearance with that on. So what we're going to do is just slice underneath the flange and just sort of lift it up a little bit just to change that angle. So we've got the clearance between the strut tower there. So as you can see, it doesn't look like much, but I can fit my fingers between there, whereas before I had no chance. So we'll get that sorted, start doing the firewall, obviously mount the radiator because we want that mounted before we do any intercooler piping. I think that'll pretty much cover the fabrication side of it, which I'm hoping to get started on real soon. Sort of made a bit of a list with Trav and come up with what we'll need, so we're looking to get that sorted. Heading over towards the wiring side of things, I have been playing around a little bit. I made a bit of a start, so I have wired up these coil packs, a couple of brackets that I'd got a while ago. I wasn't sure where I was going to put them. I was thinking maybe the back of the head, but I think now I'm going to go up under the dash, seeing as there's no heater core or anything up there anymore. There's plenty of room. So I've just wired them up into some 8-pin plugs, keeping the earth separate. So that's those two. I can see I also did just go through on the laptop and just sort of allocate everything and go through and decide exactly what I want to run. So you can print this off once you've made it, but I don't have a printer at home, so I just wrote it down. That gives me a bit of an idea of what's going to where, and I've gone through and decided exactly what I want to run. So now that I do have that done, I basically am ready to put this loom in the car for the first time, mount our hole in the firewall, and sort of start laying things out and get some length sorted out for some wiring. So with mounting them under the dash, I did get a hold of these for the leads. I can't remember if I showed them to you guys or not already. So they're a reed speed, so I literally just mount through the firewall or wherever you want to mount it through, and it's a safe passage for the leads to pass through. Definitely not going to rub into any rubbing or anything like that. So they're a pretty cool thing. We're pretty cheap as well. Alright, so I did fast forward a little bit here and actually go ahead and clean a lot of this out without filming. It was just too dark and too crappy in here to sort of try and film. So I still need to get rid of all of this. I think I'm just going to get dry ice. I've seen plenty of people do it that way. It seems to come up really nice. So there's a few little rust spots in that corner there and a little bit under there. So I'm hoping they're not too bad. It is what it is. We'll just have to sort it out once I get it up. Hopefully I can just buzz it back and treat it, but we'll wait and see. So that's basically sorted in here. I removed the factory shifter. So I'm not going to be running a drop down box because I'm not going to be running a center console. So what the plan is there is to make a flat sheet of aluminum, and then we'll mount the shifter straight on top of that. We'll probably go through that shortly. That'll be sort of pretty simple and be cool to get the shifter mounted and set the cable and that up. So we'll get onto that shortly. Alright guys, so what we're going to do, got a sheet of 3mm alloy here. I'm just going to use, this is the front section of the original shifter plate. So to start off with, I'm going to trace around that, also mark out the holes, and then I'll cut the plate. I know it was, I need about 350mm, so I'll cut it to that. We'll test fit it, then I'll flip this around and trace it over again. So I'll start just by marking this out. Perfect, so what we'll do is we'll take this into the car and we'll do a bit of a dummy fit. Obviously it's pretty rough, but just want to make sure we're on the right track. It's always easy to double check. Alright, so travelling pretty good there. The length is about spot on. So what I might do now is I'll go through and drill those holes. Just going to center punch these holes and then we'll drill out. So that's about as good as it's going to get. Chuck it in, see how the fitment is. So I think that's about how it's going to sit. Looks pretty good to me. So we'll mount this down and then we can play with the shifter positioning. Might have it sort of offset a little bit. I've always liked that look. So we'll give that a crack. Okay, so the plate all lines up with the holes we've drilled and the shape is pretty much spot on. It's going to be underneath the carpet anyway, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But what we'll do now is grab the shifter. So I did show this in an earlier video, the shifter we went with. This one here. What we'll do, I reckon, is jump in the car with this, mark out the holes. We'll then pull it out, drill that to the plate, and then we can line up the hole for the cable as well. So we'll do all that before we actually rivet the plate itself down. So let's go. Okay, so I've been playing around a bit. I think this is pretty much the shifter position I'm going to go with. So it isn't straight. And I sort of always wanted to have one on this. I see a lot of guys run them like this back in the day when I had my VL. Feels pretty comfortable. There isn't going to be a center console, so it will just be all carpet underneath here. So I think that's pretty much the position we're going to go for. So what I'll do is just disassemble this again. I'll mark out the 4 holes to mark the shifter into this plate. Then we can start having a look at how the cable's going to run. Then we can rivet this down and get it mounted. Alright, so I've got it back out. I've marked the holes out for the shifter. I've then just center punched them. So we'll drill those out and mount the shifter to the plate. Alright, so let's get into it. Alright, so we've got that all mounted up. Now what we want to do is measure for the cable. So that is essentially the way it goes on. This cable's got to pass through. So I've done a bit of a guesstimate here. I reckon we're going to start with a hole around there. It's going to have to be a little bit larger as it is coming through on a bit of an angle. But we'll drill that out and see how we go. Okay, so we're back in the car. Got the hole done for the shifter cable. Didn't turn out too bad. So what I'm going to do now is feed the cable down through the hole and then we'll mount this plate. Okay, so we've got that in there. Now what I'm going to do is we're just going to rivet this in. So go along and sit all the rivets in. Okay guys, we're just going to look at joining up the cable at the transmission end. So to start off with, I've just grabbed this out of the kit. This is to suit Turbo 400. So that goes over the shifter output there. Alright, so we will tighten that up. And then what I've got to do is I've just been following the instructions here. So this bracket here, basically I need to trim off that bit and get rid of that little lug there. So I'm just going to do that first. So we've gone ahead and trimmed up that bracket. Now the reason we've had to do that is because we're running an alloy pan. So it does actually say in the instructions here, it shows there where to trim. It does say if running cast aluminum pans you may need to trim it, and shows a picture of it there trimmed. So just because it fouls on the pan itself being so thick, so what we'll do is we'll bolt that up and then we'll look at fitting the cable up. So both of those brackets are bolted on now. What we'll do is we're going to go back up in the car, put the shifter in neutral, and then we're going to come back under here, put the box into neutral, and then we're going to just set up the shifter. I'm not going to worry too much about this at the moment being perfect because it is going to be coming out again. once the box goes in for the final time, then we'll fine tune the adjustment to make sure it's spot on. So basically what you want to do is adjust the little swivel until it locates in there basically flush. Now, being that this is a 3-speed, you read the instructions, there is 3 holes. We want hole C, which is the center one, to suit 3-speed transmission. And that is being a little bit of a pain to go in there. Not sure why. That's gone through, and then you just put a split pin through that side. So essentially that is your adjustment. You've got adjustment there and then adjustment here with the lock, and then you can use the nut to lock it up. Yeah, so we basically should have all gears. Obviously if this was the final time, we'd just go through and fine tune it, make sure it selects all gears. The best way to do that is have someone in the car pull it down 1 gear at a time, slide this off and slide it back on, and make sure you're not having to pull it sort of left or right too much. Do that through all the gears, and if you can do that, you're pretty much spot on. So another important thing to take note of is just the way you route the cable. There can't be any sharp bends, to just sort of do a nice loop. As you can see up there, we're coming sort of straight down, loops around the front and then around the back here. Yeah, I'll probably just get zip tied up. I'll probably put some heat sleeve over that or something, as we will have the exhaust coming through here. But yeah, so that's the shifter all done. Okay guys, so last off we finished up underneath the car there. We'd adjusted the cable, so that was all done. I just wanted to show you the inside shot for the time being. So basically that's how the shifter looks. So yeah, that's pretty much it guys. It's part 2 for reverse. This is just loose, I will tighten that up. Neutral, first, second, third. So going back up to neutral, the lockout, reverse, and then 2 for park. So yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to look. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't think we'll go too much further with that at the moment. Like I said, it's all got to come out again. It's just dummy fitted in at the moment, but yeah, pretty stoked with that. Okay guys, so that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it for this video. I'm really hoping that the fabrication will be in the next one. If it's not fabrication, it'll definitely be wiring. So that stuff is really time consuming. So I'm hoping to sort of be able to smash out a heap of it, film as I go along, and hopefully put together a half decent video covering most of the wiring side of things. So if you enjoyed, please subscribe, like, any comments. Like I've said before, I do enjoy reading the comments and answering any questions. So thanks for the support guys, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.